Hello students, today we are going to continue with the chapter Forms of Business Organization. Till now we have discussed about sole proprietorship, partnership, Hindu undivided family and cooperative society as the forms of business organization. In case of sole proprietorship, partnership, Hindu undivided family business which were working for the purpose with the motive of earning profit, the main limitations we had seen that these are having limited resources but unlimited liability on the shoulders of the members of the organization. So the question arises how to overcome these two main limitations, and the answer to this question is that it is with the emergence and with the existence of the joint stock company having the form of business organization. So in today's topic we shall be learning about the meaning and features of the joint stock company. Now before starting with the topic, let us have a look over the learning outcomes which we shall be having at the end of this lesson, and these are we shall be learning about the meaning of joint stock company and the related terms to the company and the various features of the joint stock company. Now let us begin with the terms. The very first term is the joint, which means collective, common, and the stock here means the total capital of the company, that is the capital stock of the company. So the entire capital of a company is known to be the stock. This stock is further divided into the small unit, and those small units are known to be the shares. So a single unit is known to be the share of the company. Like in this picture, the total capital is further divided into the smallest unit, and these units would be known as share. In case of sole proprietor partnership, we have learned that whatever earnings are made by these organizations, these are known to be the profit. In case of company also, the earnings are known to be the profit, but the earning which goes into the hands of the owners of the company, that becomes the dividend. So whatever the members or the owners of a company get as a return on their capital, that is known to be dividend. Now the major terms are the shareholders and board. The shareholders are the person who acquire, who buy, who purchase the shares of the company, and they become the shareholder of the company. The shareholder can be from any part of the country, and they are scattered far and wide. So they are not able to take the participation in the management of company. Then the question arises, who will be managing the company? The management of the company is entirely on the shoulders of the board, and the board here means board of directors. So the ownership and the management, it is separated in the joint stock company form of business organization. So it will be having a ownership in different hands and the management in different hands. So they are separated from each other. Now let us begin with the meaning of the joint stock company. All the companies are managed and controlled by company law, and at present Companies Act 2013 is prevailing in our country. So according to this act, section 2 subsection 20 of this act, company means a company incorporated under this act or under any previous company law. So here the company means an organization which is registered under this act, means the Companies Act 2013 or any other previous law, means before this act there was some another law, some another act which was prevailing in our country, and it was Companies Act, Indian Companies Act 1956. And before that act also, there had been so many acts which were prevailing and dealing with the companies, like Reliance Industries Limited, Tata Motors, even Punjab National Bank, all these have been registered under the company law. So now let us have the meaning of joint stock company in simple words. It means a company is an association of persons formed for carrying out business activities and has a legal status independent of its members. So here the joint stock company means an association of persons. Association means a group of persons who collaborate their funds, who collaborate their share into the capital of company and which is formed for carrying out business activities. So a company is always carried out for the specific purpose, and that is the business activities. As well, the company is having a legal status. Legal here means lawful, because it is created under Companies Act 2013, so it is having a legal status under this act, and it is independent of its member, means it is not affected by the coming and going of the member. It is different from its member. It is having a separate entity. It is having a separate identity from its member. So a company exists in the eyes of law because it is created by law. So a company is having a separate identity beside its members. Furthermore, it can be added to as that a company can be described as an artificial person having a separate legal entity, perpetual succession, and a common seal. Now we are having the new terms, the artificial person, which means that it is not a natural person like human being. It is not having any physical existence, but it is having a separate legal entity which has already been discussed, and perpetual succession. Here the perpetual succession means continuous existence. The company continues to exist without depending on its members. So it is not dependent on the existence of its shareholder or the member. It is created by law, so it comes to in existence by law, and it also comes to an end by law. And the last one is the a common seal. Just like the human being put the signature, in the same way, being an artificial person, it will also be signing the contracts with the outside parties and signing the documents. For that purpose, it will be requiring a common seal which is prepared in the name of the company. So we have discussed about the meaning of the company. Now let us move ahead with the features of company. So the very first one is the artificial person. Being an artificial person, a company can carry on business in its own name. It can have its own property, lend or borrow money, etc. Just like the natural person, it can enter into contract with the outsider. It can have the assets and liabilities in its own name, as well as it can sign the contract with the outsider. So whatever activities are being carried out in the company's business, these will be carried out in the name of the company. So a company can legally behave like a human being, but it is not actually a person, because it is not having physical existence. It can't breathe, it can't walk, it can't run, but it is the artificial person which is created by law. So it will be entering into the contract just like the human being. Now we are having the next point, that the separate legal entity. Here we can see that on the one side of the picture there is a company, and on the other side here is the shareholder. Shareholders who are the owners of the company, and here it is the company itself. But a line of separation is there between a company and the shareholder. Its shareholders are entirely different from it, because the company has acquired its own identity by law, which is distinct from its members. So company is a separate legal entity which is being created, and it is registered under the Companies Act. So it will be having a separate identity distinct from its member, because that separate legal entity is given by law to the company when it is get registered under the Companies Act. Now the next feature of the company, that is formation. In case of sole proprietor partnership, we have seen the formation process was quite easy. But in case of company, it is to be given as a separate legal status independent of its members. So it will require time for its registration. For that purpose, we can say that a company must be registered under the Companies Act. For the purpose of forming the company, we have to get it incorporated. We have to get it registered under the Companies Act. So it is not an easy task. It requires a numerous formalities to be completed before its registration. And nowadays it is getting the digital signatures of the director who will be acting as a director in the future company. Thereafter, the directors will have to get the identification number, director identification number. Thereafter, they will be signing the various documents which are to be submitted with the registrar of the company who will be registering the company. So it will be requiring a lot of time as well as a lot of money to complete the lengthy and complicated procedure which is involved in the formation of a company. So the formation of a company is a very lengthy task which require a detailed procedure for its completion. Now let us have the next one, and that is the perpetual succession. We have already discussed about the meaning of the perpetual succession, that it is continuous existence. A very famous phrase is there that members may come, members may go out, but the business of company will continue as it is. So the existence of a company is not affected by the death, insolvency, or change of ownership through the sale of share by the shareholder. So the shareholder, they may change, they may go out, they may come in the business. There might be exit or entry of the shareholder. They may change their legal status by transferring the shares from one hand to another hand. But the business of the company will continue as it is, being the separate creation by the law. So the company is not affected by the entry or exit of the member. Now the next point, here it is the control. Here the control means the separation of ownership and management. As we have discussed about the terms board of director and shareholder, thereby we learned that the ownership of the company remains in the hands of the shareholder, but its management, its working, it is dependent and it is in the hands of the board of director, because it is not possible for the shareholder to be there for the management of the company. For that purpose, they appoint the board of director, they elect the members as a board of director who will be acting as a management in the company. So we can say that the control remains in the hands of the board of directors. So the management and control of the affairs of the working of the management of the company is undertaken by the board of director, being elected by the shareholders. Now the next one is the liability. As we have learned in the topic sole proprietor, partnership and Hindu undivided family, that the liability of the sole owner, all the partners and the karta of the Hindu undivided family, it is unlimited. But here is the benefit to the shareholder of the company, that the liability of all the members is limited to the capital contributed by them, limited to the shares taken up by them. So whatever number of shares are taken by the shareholder, number of shares taken by the shareholders that will be the extent of the liability of the shareholder. So let us say that in a company there are 1 lakh shares of rupees 10 each, and if I acquire 1000 shares in that company, then my liability would be 1000 into 10. So my liability would be only to the extent of rupees 10,000. I will be contributing only up to rupees 10,000, not more than that. So in this case, the person who is being the shareholder of the company, he will be enjoying the feature that there will be limited liability. It will be limited to the extent of the shares which are taken up by him or her. So let us go with the next point. Here it is common seal. We have already discussed that what the common seal is. It is used for the company's approval for entering into the agreement. So the company is an artificial person, so it cannot act or sign itself. For that purpose, the board of directors are chosen, but the board of directors will be signing in the name of company, and for that purpose they will be using the common seal, whereby the name of the company will be printed, and that seal will be affixed on all the important documents, on all the important contract which will be signed by the company. So the common seal is an official property which will be held in the company by the authorized person for putting that signature on the documents and the contracts. So this is about the common seal. Now let us go with the next point, and the next point is the risk bearing. The risk bearing here is the risk sharing, because the number of members, they are large in number. In case of sole proprietor and partnership, the sole owner had to take all the risk responsibility of the business. All the liabilities were on the shoulder of that person. And in case of partnership also, the risk was divided, but it was to the limited extent. But in case of company, the risk is shared amongst all the shareholder, and nobody feels the burden, or nobody feels under the burden of the risk of the loss. So risk of losses in case of company is borne by all the shareholder, whether it is having the large number of share or small number of share. Each and every person will be having risk to the extent of number of shares which are being acquired by him or her. So here the members of the company enjoy the sharing of the loss to the extent of their contribution. So with this we have discussed about the meaning and features of the companies. Now let us recapitulate the topic. We have learned about the meaning of the joint stock company. We state that it is an artificial person which is created by law, having the separate legal identity, and having the perpetual succession and a common seal. So we can list out the features here, and that is, it is an artificial person having separate legal entity, formation of the company, perpetual succession, separation of management and ownership, liability that is limited, and a common seal, and the last one is the risk bearing. Now you have the assignment. You will be going through this assignment, and you will be writing the answer for that. Here it is a case study. So let me tell you that before reading the case, you will be going through the question, then you will be able to answer the question correctly. So with this, our today's lesson is over. Now it's